Howdy, my name is Diego Jettery, and today we'll be going over biobutanol, one of the many biofuels out there. Now, biobutanol is actually butanol that is produced by biomasses such as corn and other carbohydrate-rich masses. Butanol is composed of C4H10O, and butanol actually has two more carbon atoms than ethanol. Now, butanol was first produced by Louis Pasteur in 1861 using an organism called Vibrio butyrique, a certain type of bacteria. Now, he was the one that discovered ABE fermentation. This is acetate, butanol, and ethanol fermentation. Now, as time passed on, there was a resurgence in butanol, and it was actually Chaim Weizmann who won a patent in 1915 by isolating the bacterium Clostridium acetobutylicum. Now, the cultivation and production of biobutanol. Butanol is produced using bacteria, like I said, using strains of Clostridium. Now, Clostridium is actually cultivated from glycerol stock and it's incubated overnight at 37 degrees Celsius for 48 hours for spore formation. Blah. Now, Clostridium is then used to facilitate the anaerobic fermentation process as it uses the carbohydrates and biomasses to produce acetone, butanol, and ethanol. Now, butanol is not a sole product. It actually comes in a trio with acetone, butanol, and ethanol. Right now, there is no other process where it can go like that. Now, for the development status of butanol, well, butanol was actually used during the World Wars as it was in great supply from the Weizmann process. However, this was an indirect consequence of it. Actually, acetone was actually the main reason why the Weizmann process was used during the World Wars, as various countries needed it for the use in ballistics and rubber, I believe. Now, as the Weizmann process was used for acetone, butanol, the stockpile of butanol kept growing and growing. And these were used as industrial solvents by many countries. However, the use of biobutanol was sadly forgotten as the petroleum techniques to produce it were easier and cheaper to do. Currently, butanol is continued using as an industrial solvent, and it is currently being researched and developed to make it available for the public. However, it needs to jump various hurdles in its production process to actually become viable. Now, the impacts of it, well, for the carbon footprint, butanol actually produces less CO2, hydrocarbons, and nitrogen oxide than that of traditional petrol, which is gasoline, and ethanol. Although it is less efficient than petrol in fuel consumption, I believe that its decrease in emissions proves that it is viable in that aspect. Economically, like I said before, it's used as a solvent and as a chemical intermediate for plastics and various other products in markets around the world, such as the North and South American markets, Europe, and Asian markets. Butanol as a biofuel specifically is attracting more attention, but right now it is way more expensive than ethanol, which is another biofuel that is being used at the moment. Why do you ask? Well, right now, a lot of companies are looking into ways to improve on the ABE fermentation process so butanol could be produced on an industrial scale. We have companies such as Butamax and Gevo who are looking into ways to find ways to jump over the disadvantages that butanol has. The disadvantages of butanol production, well, butanol acts as a feedback inhibitor in the Weizmann process. And high percentages of butanol is actually a poison for the Clostridium bacteria that helps produce these products. So the overall yield of butanol decreases as you try to produce more and more butanol. And this hinders the production of it by a lot. And these companies are trying to find ways that they can overcome that challenge. And the reason for this is that butanol has become increasingly popular over the years in the scientific field, as it has a lot more advantages over ethanol. First of all, butanol is not immersible in water, so it doesn't mix with it, and it could be used in already existing gasoline pipelines. So that's already an advantage over ethanol, as ethanol is susceptible to being mixed with water and forming hydrogen bonds in it. Butanol is also more efficient than ethanol. Like I said before, it really needs to cross the quantity challenge, as ethanol can be produced with vast amounts at a way cheaper price than butanol. Now, progress in this field can lead to a more increased popularity, as there is interest for it as a transport fuel. Now, currently, butanol could be used around 16 to 25% with gasoline, but scientists are trying to find ways where it can be used at 100%. Right now, that is not available. So for the analysis, well, right now we need to just have further research into the butanol process and find ways to jump over and overcome the challenges that there are. For right now, I would say to stick to ethanol to decrease fossil fuel production, as that is the main focal point for biofuels. And we could use the funding from ethanol production to further develop butanol production, as it is the better biofuel for the future. Now, as of right now, I say ethanol due to just costs to produce it, but in the future, butanol should be viable for the public. It's just only a matter of time until we find ways to improve on the process that has been there for a long time. And here are my citations. And thank you. That is my presentation, and thanks and gigam.